What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Between Two Worlds. My name is Socrates, and on this channel, I like to talk about my experience as an immigrant, especially the early beginnings coming into America as an immigrant child, and how that affected me, and also things that I learned about myself over the last couple years, and how now I can put language to the things that I felt and saw and experienced early on in my life, and how it explains why I always felt different and why people would come up to me sometimes and tell me, "You look different, you seem different, you are different," and they just couldn't put a name to it. What I came to find out over a couple of years ago was that I'm 98% sure that I am neurodivergent. And and I know it's a topic of conversation now that a lot of people are talking about. And on one side of the aisle, people are complaining about how everybody seems to want to attach themselves to this movement of everyone being autistic and ADHD. And on the other side, you have the people who are waking up and discovering, you know, a whole new aspect of themselves that now gives them the language and words to express and explain all the things that they have been feeling all throughout their lives. So I've always been afraid to reveal this. I've always been, especially on camera, I've always been afraid to talk about this. But like I said, I am 98% sure that I'm neurodivergent. And more specifically, uh, over time, I came to realize that all of the traits that have to do with ADHD um, really resonate with me in my life experiences. And then I found out that all the traits that have to do with autism seem to really, really resonate with me as well, and put an explanation to all of the things I had been experiencing my whole life. Now, there tends to be overlapping between them as far as traits go. I'm not an expert. I'm not an educator on these things. I'm just a person that did a lot of research exhaustively over a period of time and came out with the conclusion that I identify as both. Eventually, I probably will get a diagnosis. I don't know. A lot of people say it's very, very hard to get a diagnosis. But the point of all this is not really to put something on record that I can go around showing people, hey, this is me. I'm not trying to wave that in front of the whole entire world. I barely wanted to make this video. I have one video already uploaded, and last night, as I was going through my already recorded videos and trying to figure out what I was going to post, this wave of insecurity hit me, and I almost just deleted the entire channel. So, talking right now, I am very uncomfortable talking about these things. I'm very afraid of people that I know watching this and learning these things about me, because I really don't feel like I'm at the point where I want to get that personal with the people around me. So I feel more comfortable with complete strangers to reveal these things. But also, after going through my shutdown a couple years ago, I understand the importance of being able to articulate these things, talk them out, and get them out, because I really don't want to go through another one of those things. And now that I know more about it, I realized I had been at different points in my life going through those things, going through the shutdown and the burnout, uh, probably constantly throughout my life, and just not knowing it and learning to just push through it over and over again until it got to the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't bottle it up anymore and pretend like nothing was bothering me. It was completely out of my control when it happened, and it seemed like it happened overnight with no warning. And everything that I had worked for, everything that I thought I was accomplishing, just felt like it just vanished overnight. I was not myself. I wasn't thinking straight. And to illustrate a little bit, when I say everything just went to shit, I mean everything went to shit. Financially, everything went to shit. I have a really high income career, which is something I never thought I'd ever be able to achieve. And I did that. And right in the middle of me and my family enjoying all of that, this is when everything happened. The only thing I didn't lose when I went through that shutdown was my marriage and my family. I think that's the only thing I was able to really, really salvage through all that, and I'm very, very grateful because that just would I don't know how I would have handled that. But I'm glad that I was able to see enough light within that darkness to be able to keep that at least together while I was dealing with the internal struggles that I was dealing with. But it was one of the hardest things I had ever experienced in my life. And it was a thing that, everything has two sides to it. There's a gift and a curse. But it was the thing that threw me into doing research about psychology and learning more about myself and how my inner workings were really arranged. And so I went through this rabbit hole once I started figuring out how different traits applied to me. Now, at this point, I didn't really have an overall picture of, I really didn't have an overall image or picture of how my brain worked and how just all of these things work together. I was picking up traits here and there and seeing whether or not they applied to me. And that's pretty much how I started. I started out just asking questions, right? I learned a very long time ago that asking questions is the doorway to knowledge. And so if you ask questions, and especially if you ask the right questions, you can get the answers that you want. And that is a theme of my life that shows up in different ways. In this way, I used it to discover more about myself. I continue to use it to discover more about other people, about things. I ask a lot of questions. I'm curious, naturally, very curious. And so very early on, I realized that asking questions is very important, and learning how to ask questions is a skill that you want to have if you want to know things. The other side of it is, because I knew the value of asking questions, I always wanted other people to ask me questions. Even though I came off a little standoffish to people around me for various reasons, because I just wasn't comfortable, around groups or around other people. I'd always been masking, pretending to be one thing or another, or one person or another, depending on who I was interacting with, because I've always felt insecure about being accepted. And you can tie that to a lot of my experiences, namely my experience coming from Haiti to America and having to go from one culture to a whole other culture, where you're naturally going to feel like I have to earn the trust of these people. I have to earn their acceptance. And so that continued on throughout my life, example after example, to the point of masking. And even within groups of people that I knew, whether it was friends or family, I would always mask, because there were just all these parts about myself, all these things internally that I was experiencing. I had no words for. I couldn't explain. And more importantly, I really, really did not want other people to experience them. I had some very strange behaviors that I thought were strange, that I really did not want people to experience. So I masked all those things. I suppressed them up to the point of about age of 40. I'm 42 now, turning 43. So yeah, about the age of 40, where the pressure built up so much that I just could not contain it anymore. And I had a complete shutdown. I was melting down daily, weekly, you name it. But I feel like it was just all that built up pressure over time that was finally finding its way out, and finally forcing me to process it, even if I didn't want to process it at all, even if I didn't want to process it in the way that I was processing it. It just felt very involuntary. It felt like I no longer had control over those emotions anymore, and they were going to come out one way or the other. So I think the first thing that I felt like I identified with, and it didn't stick, was I thought I was bipolar. And the reason why I thought I was bipolar is The same reason I wake up and I have a morning routine, and now this is part of my morning routine, is that I wake up every day. It's like Groundhog Day, with a mountain of pressure and anxiety on me each and every day. So it makes it hard to wake up out of bed. It makes it hard for me to take those first few steps and get going in the morning to do, to do the things I need to do to get ready for my day. It's all very hard. I do it anyway because I've come to realize that you just have to move, right? I just have to get going, take one step at a time, and then each step I take makes the next step a little bit easier, a little bit easier. And then eventually I can get into a bit of a groove, get myself together, and then I'm off for the day. And it's back to the masking and back to, all that stuff. So I'm still dealing with that. I'm still masking. So I'm not completely, over that yet, but I've done a lot better since learning all these things. But I thought I was bipolar at one point because my energy tends to fluctuate and oscillate throughout the day. So in the morning, I'll wake up with very low energy, very low mood, definitely below baseline, sometimes way below baseline. And I just go through the motions to get myself going. And as the day goes by, and I experienced this even as a child, I never had an explanation for it. As my day would progress, there would be times where my mood would reach a baseline level, and I'd feel okay, I'd feel fine, I'd feel safe, I feel like okay, everything is even and even keeled and balanced, and then out of nowhere, it would just crash and drop, right? And then I would feel dread, anxiety, pressure, all these things. It's like my brain was sending out all these signals that things were about to go wrong or things were going wrong. But when I looked around me, there were no fires. There was nothing going wrong. I was feeling all of it internally. And then sometimes it'd be 5 minutes later, an hour later, 2 hours later, whatever it was. It was always random. My mood would just spike again. And it would spike to a point where I had so much energy I couldn't contain myself. So after experiencing that over and over again for a while, I said, okay, from the little I knew about psychology and from the little I knew about like uh, the bipolar condition, I naturally gravitated towards that. As trying to grasp at something for an explanation, I thought I was bipolar. So that was the beginning of the rabbit hole for me when I decided to plug it into Google and I described those same symptoms that I just described to you. I put it into Google, and of course, bipolar came up. A few other things came up, and I just started reading through the list. And it didn't take long for me to realize that I'm not bipolar. Um, and that led me to eventually figuring out that that could be a symptom or trait of ADHD. So one thing connected me to the next, and then I would just ask question after question, and eventually I started to build this whole profile. I also went online and I would do different tests, ADHD tests, and I took several of them just to make sure that I wasn't, leading myself astray, and that I wasn't wrong about what my assessment was. Um, and it came back very consistently online with each test that I took. It confirmed it. ADHD, you're definitely there. I think one test had me at like 70% or above, likely to be ADHD. And they all just kept coming back that way. And so I continued on researching because now I'm into it. It's revealing things about me that I'd been experiencing and that I just never had any language for. It's giving me clarity on my behavior, and more importantly, it's helping me figure out routines and ways that I could go about my day to kind of make things a little easier. And that's when I discovered doing a morning routine. And so that ADHD discovery led me to breath work as a way of breaking down all of that anxiety and clearing it all up to give me some kind of chance at having like normal mornings, mornings where I feel happy, I feel joyous, I feel energized. And that worked really well. To this day, I'm still doing breath work, and I do it every day, sometimes twice a day. There were times I was doing it 3 times a day because I just needed to, especially when I was going through my shutdown. I needed to do it constantly to keep myself regulated. And so I kept on going down the rabbit hole. YouTube kept sending me more videos. I kept following more channels, and eventually I landed on autism. Now, at first, it was just entertaining to listen to, because now I was identifying with people with different mental, well, I guess mental disorders. I don't like to say it that way, but it's the only thing coming into my head right now. I started identifying with them, and I started building an interest in learning more about these conditions and these traits, even if they weren't things that I could identify with. I just became very, very intrigued with psychology as a whole. And while doing that, I landed on autism. And lo and behold, they start going through the traits, and I'm identifying with all of them. And I didn't accept it right away. It took a very, very long time for me to accept it. Um, because I thought, okay, I could be wrong. And I watched certain videos that said that ADHD and autism can have overlapping traits, but it doesn't mean that you have both. And then I learned from another YouTuber's channel that, as early as 2012 or something like that, um, psychologists didn't, I don't want to say allow, but it almost feels like allowing, because they're the authorities, and they tend to say what's accurate, what's not accurate, what we should go by or not. And so they decided that a person can't have both. A person can't have ADHD and autism. And so it has to be one or the other. And then years later, I think it was 2012. Yeah, up until 2012, they said you couldn't have both. And then somewhere around there, 2012, they discovered, oh, a person could have both. And that was another big revelation for me. And so while it threw me into a tailspin, because there was so much information coming at me all at once, it was also giving me a lot of clarity about who I really am. And this is something I've been chasing my whole entire life. I was just chasing it in the wrong way. I was looking for other people to explain to me who I was. I was looking for them to show me, in a way, mentor me into understanding myself. I thought all those answers were supposed to come from outside of me. And now I'm realizing all the answers had been there. It's just that no one had seen it for one reason or another. One big reason was probably because I got so good at masking. I got so good at hiding all those traits that I felt ashamed of, that people just thought I was just like them. People thought I was normal. There were times I did such a good job, it felt unreal inside of me, that I just felt this combination of fakeness, but elation at the same time, that I was able to perform so well. Like I would always feel fake about it, and there was always like this guilt that was attached to me masking, because I felt like I was lying to people. But then when I felt like I really got it right, I would feel really happy that I was doing it right. Right. And I wasn't happy because I was fooling people. I was just happy that I got through this situation, and I felt confident that no one was able to detect that there was anything wrong with me. And that was important to me, because it kept negative attention away from me. It kept the criticism away from me. Because growing up, like I said, I always wanted people to ask me questions. I always wanted people to take an interest in me, so that I could learn more about myself through them and through what they were seeing. So giving me feedback about me was something that I valued a lot, but it was something that I was really, really deprived of. I didn't really get much of at all. I'm losing my train of thought right now. So finding these things out about myself, and being able to answer my own questions now, while I'm researching all this psychology stuff, was a big relief to me. And I know I probably didn't finish whatever point I was just making, and now I'm going off to the next thing. But that's hey, that's just how my brain works. I have a lot of things moving through here, and it's hard a lot of times to keep my mind on track with the points that I'm trying to make and actually finish a point. So far, I feel like I'm doing pretty good, but I will have missteps. And this video, by the way, is going to be unedited because I just simply don't have the time to edit. And I am trying to learn just how not to mask anymore. I'm trying to become more comfortable in front of the camera, talking about these things and being honest with not only you guys, but also with myself. So I feel like if I edit this stuff out, it's sort of like not being genuine because you don't get to see what I'm talking about. You don't get to see the evidence of what I'm talking about. And one thing I'm really afraid of is the judgment of other people maybe accusing me of trying to latch on to whatever the latest trend is. And, you know, one thing about me is I don't do trends at all. I really don't do trends. I do patterns. I'll sit and watch people jump on something and then I'll wait and see what the results are. I'll wait to see where it goes. But I'm not the kind of person that loves to jump on a trend. A matter of fact, if I see something as a trend, I will stay away from it. Sort of like this whole Ozempic thing. Not that I need Ozempic, obviously, but it's just first thing that came to my mind. Just like with this whole Ozempic thing, I see everybody jumping on it like it's this miracle drug that's going to cure all of their problems with weight and all of that crap. And yeah, it's helping now, but all I can see is the potential danger in abusing this thing and how no one is asking the good questions, or the people using it are not asking the questions that they need to be asking and taking the precautions that they need to be taking in order, you know, to not to fall into that group of people who, when you see those commercials about class action lawsuits because of Ozempic or whatever, yeah. So I look at patterns as a way of protecting myself from these sort of pitfalls. So I'm not a trend person at all. I caught my train of thought right there. So I'm not a trend person at all. So for anybody to accuse me of just trying to latch on to something or trying to identify with a group for whatever reason, listen, I'm a loner. I walk alone. I do most things alone. I do have a family and all that stuff. And it's not like I just, you know, separate myself from them all the time. But for the most part, most things I do alone. I don't have a lot of friends. And that's not a sad thing. So don't y'all shed tears or anything like that, because I'm not shedding any tears. It's just I found the comfort. I'm starting to find my comfort zone in my comfortable place, in my safe place. And I'm just hardly ever inspired to share that with other people. You know, outside of my family, of course, my kids and my wife, but I just never really feel inspired to invite anybody into my world to participate in all that. Most of the time, I'm all the company I need. I do just fine that way. I have a lot of hobbies, a lot of interests. So if I'm not giving energy to friendships and relationships, I can give more of my energy to those things that energize me and, you know, bring me joy and fulfillment in my life. I'm a person that for lack of a better word, I suffer from not having enough energy. When I do have the energy, I'm a totally different person. But most of the time, my life is lived on manual mode where I have to manage my energy. I have to figure out ways to maintain a certain level of energy every single day to make sure that I can just get through my day, let alone enjoy my day and then be able to share that with other people. That takes more energy. So you can kind of see why I don't really prioritize friendships. I do have a lot of people that I know. I have a lot of acquaintances, and I don't want anybody to feel bad that maybe they think that I'm, you know, they're really good friends with me and I'm just looking at them as acquaintances. And you know, that's one of those challenges too of being who I am. It's like I'm always sort of navigating that landscape. And now I'm understanding how to set boundaries properly so that I don't fall into some of the situations I used to fall into where I'm feeling guilty and then I'm depleting myself for someone else to feel better. I don't want to do that anymore. So therefore, I don't really have a whole lot of friends. I don't keep too much contact even with family. And it's not because I hate them or anything like that. It's just the difference between me and everybody else is so glaring. Whenever I don't mask and I'm just being myself, the difference between me and everybody else is so glaring that it's stressful for me to think about how I may be stressing other people out just being myself. So my answer to that is just keep the friendships and the relationships at a minimum. And I'm more so concentrating on myself and prioritizing myself for the first time in my life, more so than I'm prioritizing other people and, in their feelings. So that's where I'm at now. I'm on this journey of self-discovery. And again, this channel is called Between Two Worlds. I want to connect with other people like myself versus what I used to do was try to connect with people that were not like me. And I constantly felt like I was being rejected, constantly felt like I wasn't being seen or being heard or being validated or even valued for what I could bring, to a friendship. And I do have a lot to bring. I have a lot of insight. I have a lot of I'm a lot as a person. I'm a lot. And there's a lot of good that comes with that. There's more good that comes with it than bad, I feel like. And so for all those friendships that didn't turn out right, that didn't really fulfill me, hey, it's all good. I wish everybody the best, but now I need to prioritize myself and connect with the people that I should be connecting with. So that's the reason why I'm doing these videos. I'm hoping you guys see these videos, you guys comment, like, subscribe, start a dialogue and ask questions, because I can't express enough how much I love questions. I love when people ask me questions. I should make a t-shirt that says I'm an open book, because I want people to know me. I want people to see me as I am, so that I don't have to mask all the time. And for me, it's like living a whole different life now and experience something much, much different than what I'm used to experiencing. Genuine connection. So that's what I'm looking for here on this channel. And the other side of it is I do this as part of my morning routine because it helps regulate me. It helps get the emotions out. It helps get all the crud out. Me talking it out instead of circulating it around in my head, so that I can go through my day more elevated, at least be able to hit baseline and maintain that baseline throughout the day so I don't feel so depleted when I get home. So that's me. Again, my name is Socrates. This is Between Two Worlds. And by now, I think you understand, the meaning behind Between Two Worlds, because I do find myself living in between worlds all the time. So this is where I'll cut off the video. I'm not really good at this yet, but I will get better, I promise, and I will stay consistent with it. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try to keep going and not delete this channel. I will go through periods where I feel like I don't want to do this, doubting periods and things like that. I will go through those periods, but like I've done with so many other things, I just keep going. I just keep going. This time, I don't feel like I'm just using pure willpower to do it. It is something that is helping me out. So I'm hoping that I can continue on this channel and hopefully meet a lot of interesting people and hear a lot of different stories, and just, dialogue with you guys. So here's to that. And you guys have a wonderful day, and I will try to do the same.